Today I'd like to do a product review as part of my Vehicle Preps video series, and this one's going to feature roadside assistance flares. So these are a mandatory item for any kind of vehicle preps because they help alert other drivers that you're in a roadside assistance situation. So if you have a flat tire, you've been in a car wreck, you want to light one of these up to alert the other drivers that you're on the side of the road, just to kind of watch out for you. And these are the standard versions. You'll see these carried by law enforcement officers, truck drivers, semi-truck drivers, for alerting other vehicles, and they're just kind of tried and true. They kind of have a short burn time of around 15 minutes, but they work if they're crushed, in the rain, it doesn't matter. They're very consistent as far as how they work, but they do have those few drawbacks that we discussed. So for this particular video, I'd like to cover more of a high-tech version of the emergency flare, and we're going to be featuring the Magnatek Smart Flares Emergency Roadside LED Flare Kit. So as the name suggests, this is going to be a flare kit that's going to kind of simulate what the standard emergency flare does, but more as a LED flashlight. So let's open it up really quick. So here's our little flare kit that we have over here. We have two flares, and open it up like this. They each have a magnetic base to them, so you could connect them to a little stand over here to allow them to stand upright as a tail stand, and then you have a button over here for turning on the flare. So you have a red blinky light. It also turns solid red, and then you could also press it one more time to use it more as a flashlight. So the magnetic base allows you to attach it to the side of your vehicle, also to the stand, and gives you a lot of different deployment options. So let's get started now with this product review featuring the Magnatek Smart Flares. While efficient, the standard emergency flares do have a few drawbacks. For example, if you live in a dry climate, they could potentially cause any forest fires, wildlife fires, and they also could potentially ignite flammable fluid leaks like gasoline, which you wouldn't want. And then they have that short run time of around 15 minutes. So for a police officer, for example, they may have a whole box of these in their trunk, and that's not as big of a deal. For the standard commuter, that might be a little bit much carrying a whole box of these to illuminate your accident scene for more than 15 minutes. So while these only have a 15-minute runtime, the Magnatek Smart Flares don't run for 15 minutes, they don't run for 30, an hour, a day, they run for several days continuously. So you have a very long burn time with them. So they run on 3 AAA batteries, which you could access by unscrewing the magnetic base that you see here. And you kind of have that battery insert there for the 3 AAAs. And the price tag is around $35 on Amazon, which we'll talk in a little bit more detail later. It weighs in right around 17 ounces, so that's 1 pound, 1 ounce, or 490 grams. Let's show the LEDs now with the lights off. So again, you're just going to press the side button on the Magnatek Smart Flare to turn it on, and as you see, we have the red flashing light here, which is quite bright. So let's turn on both of them just to get a nice little effect going. You press it again, it's going to go solid. And then press it one more time, and you could act as a flashlight then. So you could use it like that, if you're changing a flat tire, for example. And again, they're designed to be used with those stands or attached to the vehicle with a magnetic base. So let's go back to the red blinking and red blinking. So if you have these on the side of the vehicle or on the road, they're going to be quite visible. On the Magnatek product page, they didn't have a lot of information that I've come to expect now from flashlight manufacturers that list information regarding the LED, the amount of lumens, the runtime for each of the modes. So I had to do some of my own testing just to find out with this one. So what I wanted to do was find out the runtime of when it was on blinky mode and when it was on solid mode. So what I did was set these up in the closet with the stopwatch and just began timing. My main goal was that these would last for at least 8 hours, so an overnight period. For example, if your vehicle was on the side of the road overnight and you wanted to properly illuminate it, I wanted to make sure that it would last 8 hours, which was much greater than the standard flare. So during my testing, it performed just fine for 8 to 12 hours, I thought, at full brightness level. After around 12 hours, 24 hours, you saw the brightness level start to decrease a little bit, and then over time it started to drop down maybe to around 50%. But it was lasting a lot longer than I expected. This is going on multiple days. After day 3, I had to start carrying these things with me because I wanted to see when they would actually go out. So we would take them on various trips and test them out in different roadside assistance situations. So even at half brightness, I found that they were still properly able to illuminate the road and illuminate your vehicle wherever you're at, especially in a dark area. So these particular modes, both the blinky mode and the solid mode, didn't actually die on me until after day 5. So for a total of 5 days, these were able to illuminate an area. Sure, after a few days, they would dim up to 50%, and then the final day was more around 25% of its original brightness. But they did last a long time, especially when you compare them to the standard road flares. And then at the end of that period, I just replaced the AAA batteries, and they're back to full brightness. The Smart Flares page lists a lot of information regarding why you should have flares in your vehicle for alerting other drivers, but not a lot of technical information, which is the information that I like seeing on product pages. They do list that it has a maximum visibility distance of 3,000 feet in the evening and 1,000 feet in the daytime. Now, I think those are probably a little extreme. I don't, 3,000 feet, that's a long distance. I wouldn't really count on that, but I do think that it has the same visibility distance as what your standard flare would, and I think because it's elevated and you have the blinking feature on it, I think it's a little bit more noticeable than your standard flares, just because of those reasons to it. In the daytime, I don't feel that these would be, I wouldn't count on these for much more than 100, maybe 200 feet at the most at daytime. It's just with the sunlight, it's just too bright to notice this. I would prefer using the orange triangles in the daytime. They're much more noticeable, they're taller, they take up a wider area, they have reflective properties to them. I just think they're the better solution for roadside assistance in the daytime. In the evening, flares. In the daytime, triangles. As far as the separation distance from your vehicle, from everything that I've read, you want to have these at highway speed of 40 paces from your vehicle. So if your vehicle is broken down here, you're going to want to walk out 40 paces, put one down, walk out another 40 paces, put the other one down, and that's at highway speed. At residential speeds, you could probably half that, for example. I'm not sure if there's an exact formula on that, but that's just what I'm accustomed to with using flares and triangles. Now let's start going through the pros and cons, starting off first with the pros. So the number one pro that I have listed is just a great size. I really like the size and weight for convenient storage in your vehicle. Even with the case, it's small enough that it could fit underneath one of your seats. It could also fit in your door panel or in an emergency kit. And having that nice hard shell on the case helps ensure that they're going to be protected while in storage. The second pro that I have listed is just the bright LEDs with them. They're very, very bright, especially at nighttime. In the daylight, not as bright. At nighttime, very bright with multiple modes. I like that you could have the option of having it blinking for alerting, have a solid color on there, and also you could use it as a flashlight as well. I do like that it's the form factor is a tall cylinder form factor that helps with visibility, especially in daylight. Having it elevated like this, I think helps it illuminate a little bit better and just be more noticeable to a vehicle than one that's just laying flat on the ground. So having that elevated visibility. The magnetic mounting is very convenient. I really like that you could attach it to the side of the vehicle. You could attach it to the stand that comes with it. And you could attach it, for example, on the hood of your vehicle if you're doing some kind of repair work on your engine and want to use the flashlight feature. Just a lot of different mounting options, which are very convenient. The collapsible bases are really nice. I think they hold up well in the wind, even though they're plastic and fairly lightweight. I haven't had any kind of problems with these tipping over at any point. Maybe in very, very high winds they would, but under standard conditions I haven't noticed it. And then these flares are also available in multiple colors, so if you don't want to just have a red for emergency situations, you could also get it in a yellow or blue color, which represent their own things. So multiple color choices, and all in all, just kind of a great design and layout for this particular kit. And that's everything I have listed for the pros. Now let's start going through the cons. So the first con that I have listed is the lack of information regarding the amount of lumens, the runtime, or the waterproofing of these LED flares. That's just the kind of information that I expect for flashlights, and I would expect them also for LED flares, especially if they're going to be used in an emergency situation. I want to know that kind of details. The second con that I have listed is I feel that it needs to have O-rings added to this base over here to help protect it from rain. So as you notice here, there's no O-rings there that would help protect water from getting in there. At the best, I would say that these are probably IPX4, maybe protecting from splashing, but if you're talking about any kind of flooding, their water would get in there. Just adding some O-rings to that I think would help out a lot with it, and I would just like to see that. I feel that the magnets on the base are good, but not great. For all of these kind of magnetic base cylinder form factors, I wish that they were just slightly stronger, just so you could attach them in multiple methods, maybe even hanging upside down without it falling off. So just a little stronger on the magnets is what I'd like to see. I think it needs a better on-off switch. So I feel that the on-off switch is a little bit too easy to press, and I would be worried about accidental activation while it's in the case. I would like to see something that's probably recessed like this, or just a stronger press required for for actually activating it. I wouldn't want this turning on accidentally while it's stored and then not having any kind of juice when you really need it in an emergency situation. The batteries are not included with these LED flares, which is a problem for some people. That's not a big problem for me because for an emergency purposes, I want to make sure I have good batteries in there that I know work, not ones that have been included in the packaging and I don't know anything about them. I think that the case, speaking of batteries, could be designed better for storing batteries. For example, I wouldn't want to store these long term with the batteries inside of them, even though that's probably the most convenient, just because you don't want anything bad happening to those batteries. I would prefer if the case were to be its own battery storage option for the LED flares. So you could store the three batteries for one there, 3 batteries for the other one there, and have them enclosed. So the batteries are ready to go in their own little storage case, and then the flares are ready to go, and then you just have to put them in there. I just think that would help with the long-term storage for these LED flares. I think that it kind of has, I think these are made in China, for example, and you do see a couple little quality issues. For example, these reflective ribbons, I find they're not that's what I would like to see. I could probably peel these off as you see here. I would like to see this be a hard plastic around the reflective ribbon area. I do like that they include these. I just wish it was a hard plastic, maybe similar to that, but a clear to help protect it from coming off over time. For example, if it was to get wet, I would be worried about these just peeling off over time. I think the price is a little high at $35. I would prefer these to be in the $20 to $25 range. We're talking, you know, this is plastic here. It's not a hard anodized aluminum or anything like that. And I think for 30 plus, I just expect a premium quality materials for it. So I do think that this would be great in that $20 to $25 price range. $35, I would expect some more of those premium features, O-rings, better quality materials, and some of the details that you would expect for a premium product. And then last, I think that the product page should just be rewritten with more technical data, not as much regarding why you should have flares in your vehicle and what could happen if you don't, and just have more of that technical detail. And that's everything I have listed for the cons. As you've seen in this video, the Magnatek Smart Flares has a very similar design to some of the flashlights that we've seen in the market today. For example, the Olight S30R rechargeable baton is very similar. It's a premium quality flashlight, has a magnetic base to it, it attaches to a magnetic charging dock, and you could charge it using USB. So I'd be very interested in seeing what some of the other larger flashlight companies, for example, Olight, ThruNite, Streamlight, Nightcore, any of those would do with this style of an LED flare. Right now, Magnatek is kind of the big game in town. They have a very unique design, a unique storage case, very convenient, but there's not a lot of competition in this share of the market. I'd be curious to seeing how well this could be improved over time, especially with competition. I think that's good for the overall product design for all the companies, in addition to customers. Hopefully it would help save lives and just making some of those minor improvements to it and just kind of bumping up the game. I think that's good for everyone involved. So I'd be kind of curious to see that. That's going to do it for this product review featuring the Magnatek Smart Flares. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. In summary, I do like this product. I think it's a very unique design that's very beneficial. I think everyone should include some sort of emergency flares in their vehicle. You could go with the standard approach, which is much more affordable. You have that 15-minute runtime, or you could go with the modern approach with the LED style that has multiple day runtime with some additional features such as magnetic mounting, multiple modes. And I think in general, you could probably use this as your primary and have the standard flares as your backup. So these are actually going to be included in my signaling module for my vehicle preps project, which we'll talk about in a future video. I think that these work well. The Magnatek ones work well. I think with some minor improvements, they could work great. So I'm going to list all the information regarding this product in the description box below. You could check it out. Leave your comments below in the comment section. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video featuring Magnatek Smart Flares, emergency roadside LED flare kit. See you guys next time.